Hello out there. How you doing, folks? Listen up. Do your own research and do your own math. Do your own research and educate yourself on the so-called Holodomor hoax, which goes by the names of Holodomor. Go to Wikipedia article on demographics of Ukraine. Look up demographics of Ukraine on Wikipedia. You have all the number of deaths by year in Ukraine. The number of deaths by year in Ukraine. You will see there is roughly 1.3 million excess deaths in Ukraine in 1933 compared to the year 1931, before the famine struck. Roughly 150,000 excess deaths in Ukraine for the year 1932 compared to the year 1931. You add up 1.3 million and 150,000. You arrive at a figure of roughly 1.5 million. The figure you arrive at for the total number of excess deaths during the Holodomor is roughly 1.5 million. Therefore, the obvious conclusion is that no more than 1.5 million died in Ukraine during the Holodomor, the year 1932 and 1933 combined. Only 1.5 million. Nowhere near the 6 million or 7 million figure that is being peddled by anti-communists of all stripes. Anti-communists of all stripes are peddling this ridiculous figure of 6 to 7 to 10 million perhaps, when in fact the real figure is 1.5 million. It should be pointed out, this famine occurred against a backdrop of systematic kulak violence against collectivization. Crops were burned down, farm animals were slaughtered. During the 1932 and 1933, Ukraine lost a quarter of its livestock to sabotage by kulaks against collectivization. They were opposed to collectivization because they wanted to continue to live off the peasantry as leeches of the peasantry. They wanted to continue to carry on with this parasitic way of life, to leeches upon the body of the peasantry. So they had no other choice but to turn against the state, to turn against collective farms, the property of collective farms. They burned out crops, they slaughtered animals. In all, Ukraine lost about a quarter of its livestock. So the Holodomor can in no way be pinned down on Stalin and the Bolsheviks. There is no evidence that Stalin starved the Ukrainian peasant. On the contrary, it was the kulaks who starved the Ukrainian peasant. And Stalin did provide relief. He did provide relief to the famine-stricken peasants of Ukraine once he learned of the extent of the famine. You see? That is the historical truth. You should also read Douglas Tottle's book, Fraud, Famine, and Fascism. Because there is so much amount of misinformation being spread against Stalin and the Bolsheviks, which can all be traced back to the American media mogul Randolph Hearst and the Nazi propaganda of Joseph Goebbels. Okay. Thanks for watching, my friends.